Hey everybody, welcome to Popcorn Breakfast, and we are here today to talk about Triangle of Sadness. It's directed by Ruben Ostlund, I think his name is. He is the guy who directed Force Majeure. So, Triangle of Sadness is this really unabashed class critique. And it begins with these male models, and they're sort of vacillating between like happy faces, stern faces, and they're using those faces to represent two different brands. H&M being like, a middle class person's brand, and that's the happy face, and then Balenciaga being like the rich person's brand, and that is the very stern face. And of course, advertisers advertise to be aspirational, not necessarily to represent what things actually are. So this is like what the classes desire to be, basically, is kind of what they're trying to say there. So from there, we're following our protagonists, and it's two models, a man and a woman. So they are not upper class people, really. They're middle class people, but they sort of have access to some upper class perks because they're kind of able to trade their beauty by way of being influencers and models. And they're not like super successful models. I think they're really successful influencers, but not like, a Cindy Crawford kind of situation. Probably showing my age. I'm sure there's a more current famous model, but I think you get what I'm saying. So we are following them, and then between the two of them there is some discord with regard to gender politics, particularly how it plays out in terms of their careers, because they trade in beauty, really. And in our current system, I guess maybe female beauty could be perceived as more valuable than male beauty. So there's a little bit of discord between the two of them with regard to that and some gender politics. But they are both able to sort of, get a ticket to an upper class lifestyle. So they get a ticket to a cruise so that they can post about it on their socials. And while they're on the boat, the middle part of the movie takes place on a boat, on a cruise ship. And on this boat, the classes are very distinctly laid out. So it's like the upper deck is the upper class, and then the middle deck is the ship's crew. It's like the crew that you would see when you're on the ship, and the people that sort of follow you around and ask you if you need things. They have their crisp white, steward sort of outfits that they wear. And they are instructed specifically to say yes to whatever the guests want, because if they say yes to everything, then they will probably be rewarded with big cash tips by the end of the cruise. And then there's a little snippet where they show you another layer below. So they're like in the middle deck of the ship, but then in the low deck of the ship is the actual like laboring class, the low class workers. These are the people that you probably don't see too often on a ship. I know, like, I've had friends who worked in hotels who were like maids or something, or maintenance people, and they're like not supposed to be seen as the instructions that they're given. So this is the not supposed to be seen workers on the ship. So they're representing the low class. So once the guests are on the boat, that is when everything kind of goes to pot really quickly. There is this great scene where the ship's captain and this Russian oligarch are having this heated debate about whether socialism is better or whether communism is better. So it's like the whole ship is just in disarray, and everything is falling apart and everything is chaos, and these two rich guys are sort of isolated from the reality of what is going on the boat, and they're discussing which sort of social hierarchy would be better, in theory, this one or the other. So that sounds kind of familiar. It does to me too. But actually, what the movie is really asking us, and where it really takes us from there, is it asks us to think about what would happen if the ship capsized. So if the upper class was suddenly the low class, and the low class was suddenly the upper class. And what happens is that for the majority of folks, us middle people would still be in the middle. That doesn't change. Regardless of who's on top, the middle is still the middle. And I think that that is what the story is trying to say, is that so long as middle people are content to fight against one another in some fruitless quest to get curry from whoever it is that's on top, nothing actually changes. The system is the system. The middle class is supporting the system. So, as an exploration of class structure, I really dug this movie. I think movies about class are just really in right now, and we're seeing a lot of class critique films. My goodness, a lot of class critique films. But this one I think says something new. This one is saying something that I don't feel like I've seen said before. So that is fantastic. But as like a movie experience though, I am not super sure. So there are some bits that are really, really funny. All of the performances are absolutely fantastic, and it was very nicely shot. But there is a vomit sequence that goes on forever. And I mean forever. It felt like most of the film. I was worried that there would be no end to this. So this movie goes from this really slow and dialogue heavy, sort of, subtle jokes in there, to just suddenly an onslaught of vomiting and backed up toilets and sloshing. It was really gross. And I have a theory that there has been some huge innovation in vomit effects, because I feel like every time I watch a show or a movie lately, there is, some full frontal camera. I don't like it. I understand that you guys can do it. It's great. It looks realistic. It's fantastic. I was fine with the off-screen, and I get the idea. But this movie, it just has the most. If there is an award for most vomit, this movie is like, it's a shoo-in. So if you have a sensitive stomach, there is a good chunk of this movie that is just not even going to be watchable. That being said, I will absolutely refer anyone who asks me why I haven't taken a cruise to see this movie. Because, man, it says all the things. Weird food, dining with strangers, rocky boats, food poisoning, norovirus, pirate attacks, shipwrecks. No to all of it. No to all of it. I am keeping my land legs. So, am I recommending this movie? Yes, if you are interested in awards movies. This movie is nominated for a ton of awards. I think it's already won a bunch of kinds of awards. It is absolutely deserving of a bunch of awards. I totally get it. It is, if you were like a fan of like, I need to see all the award movies, this is a yes. Yes, if your desire to see a takedown of social hierarchies outweighs your desire to not feel nauseated, the movie is really, really great for this. It's fantastic. Like I said, I think it has a lot to say. It probably has a lot to say that I didn't pick up on. I'm certainly, not degreed in social studies or anything, and I think this movie really has a lot to say. I would also say that this movie is a yes if you liked Force Majeure. I actually didn't get through Force Majeure. It was a little slow for me. Personally, I like a faster paced movie, I guess. There's some slow stuff I like, but I don't know, that one didn't do it for me. I didn't try the American remake. That might be better. But if you liked Force Majeure, I think that you would also like this. Other people who liked Force Majeure are saying that they also loved this. So if you like the one, that you should watch this one. I would say no to this movie if you just ate. This is like if you're trying to decide, should we do dinner and a movie or movie and dinner? This is definitely a dinner afterward film. So don't watch it if you just ate. It might be a little bit rough. I would also say maybe no if you were a huge fan of taking cruises and you would like to remain a huge fan of taking cruises. And then also, like me, like I said, it's not necessarily paced to my favorite kind of pacing. I don't need like an action movie, but this is very slow pacing for my flavor. So if you like a fast paced or even just like a medium paced movie, this might not be your favorite. So that was it. This is my first popcorn breakfast. Hopefully I'll be doing more and I might have guests. I try to go see a movie every Sunday. It's like my new big hobby. So whatever is playing at my theater that catches my flavor, I'll try to come home and share my thoughts with you guys. All right. Have a great week.